Hey, just wanted to pop on and do a video and share a little bit from my heart. Just, seeing if anybody else is feeling overwhelmed, stretched, and just exhausted just recently. If you're feeling really heavy, because I certainly have. And just dealing with my father-in-law whose health is declining, in and out of the hospital. Moved him to like an assisted living place and cleaning out his house. Then having to deal at work with, we had a coworker that quit suddenly and left, and I'm the only one now answering phones and dealing with office work. And even though the providers that I work for are great at stepping in, it's me and what I'm taking on, and I'm finding that I'm overextending myself, and just like, I can do it, I'll do it, it's falling all on me. And then helping my husband with his father, feeling like I'm not doing enough, I need to step up, I need to do more. And just feeling overwhelmed and really heavy. And I know the new full moon with April 1st came, and just bringing a lot of energy there, and I'm just feeling it. I was feeling heavy, and then with that and taking on everything, volunteering for everything, and feeling like I've got to protect the business, protect the family, and I'm just feeling that. And then I get withdrawn. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, I start withdrawing, and it's just not good. And so I know that, and just feeling like within the church, that's what you do as a leader. Just taking on, you volunteer for everything. It's up to you to protect your leaders, your pastor. You got to protect the church at all cost, and even over your family. They ask for volunteers, and they say, in a church anyway, we were told that it's 20% out of, and then 80% that don't do anything. It's the 20% that carry the church on their backs, and they do everything. And there was a time that there was a incident at the church we live on the coast, and there was a tropical storm, so we all stayed. We don't leave for tropical storms or hurricane ones, category ones. We just stay and hunker down. And anyway, we had flooding at the house, and my husband was called to work because he had to clean out the church and prepare the church for the next, Sunday was coming in a couple of days. But anyway, he had to go up there over what was happening at our house. I was left to handle that. But that's what you did. You're an armor bearer, and that's your job. And so, with all this heaviness and stuff going on, and just my real reality where I'm at right now, I realize that's what I'm doing, and I need to speak up. So I was seeing I needed to speak up and set some boundaries. Yes, I can do this. No, I can't do that. So I was being aware of what was going on, listening inside. But I went to a sound bath. I don't know if any of y'all done a sound healing, and it's once a week, and I love our leader that does it. And they do like this, her and her husband. So you're getting all the sounds, the bowls and all the different sounds, and just really being in the moment, and letting go of just the reality I was in my life. And I saw myself as a little girl with a body armor suit, And this is what you see, in the church, the armor of God. You shod your feet with the gospel of peace and the breastplate of righteousness. I could go on. And I saw myself as a little girl, and this body armor was an adult size. So I was this little girl, and I'm like, wow, that's exactly how I feel. I have to have this armor on and fight the good fight of faith and show myself as a happy person, that I got it all together, and I'm fighting. So in the church, you're always, in your battle, you're fighting the good fight of faith. And so I was like, wow, that's what I'm doing. I'm fighting, and I'm neglecting the little girl inside and focus on putting that armor on and going out and doing what I have to do. And then the word armor bearer came up. I was like, oh my goodness, yes. We were taught that in the church, to be armor bearer, especially as your leader. So even as a young adult, throughout my church life, we were armor bearers, and we were taught the way I perceived it. I'm sure there's people, no, that's not what it meant, and this is not how we teach it in our church. I'm just telling you my perspective and my reality. And when I was in church, and so an armor bearer, I was taught, led to believe that you're to protect the leader, the pastor. And, what we did was, you prayed for him, you interceded for him, and, there were times that it was like, oh, you gotta keep us from, the church or the needy ones, to, you take care of them. And this is as a pastor, we were anointed, and so we're at a higher level, basically. They might have not said that, but it was just implied that, you got to protect us, and whatever that meant at the time, right? But you interceded for them, you did all this, you protected them, you protected the church, you protected, God. You had to, protect him from whatever, the devil. And so we're in this mindset. It's the church above you. Your own being, your home, where you find safety. You volunteer. You do it all for the church. And they'll tell you, with serving, if you serve others and you have this, you have a servant's heart, then you'll be filled. It's always doing and giving and all this stuff. You give above your means, and that's filling yourself. That's giving for yourself. And I do believe, pay it forward, and you give, and it does come back. But, the church is always pushing, giving above your means, and just pushing that instead of, hey, where are you at? Do we need to give to you to help you out, or, whatever. So it's just that mindset, right? And so that's what I've seen recently, is what I was doing at church and what I was doing for family. And even though it's good, I was overextending myself. Instead of, okay, I need to be centered. Let me be centered. Let me find my safety within myself, fill myself up, and then I'm ready to give above and beyond what, I'm doing. And so it's not that I don't want to go above and beyond and serve people, but when I'm overextended and people are requesting that of me, no wonder my nervous system was shot. No wonder I got to a point where it's like, I'm done. There's a lot of people question, what happened to you? You were, in church faithful, and then you just left and you did a 180. Because I was just dying on the inside. I had to survive. And so with that, and finding myself and able to be present and find my connection and live out of that connection that I do have with God, the divine being, and connected with me, once I find that connection within myself, then I'm able to connect with others, connect with nature, connect to the beautiful ocean here. And so it's like, when you're in the church, in the religious system, and you're this armor bearer and you're always serving, and then you're always, you have to protect the church. And what, that meant for us is you got to bring people in. We got to build up the church. And, it was like, oh, we got to bring them into the kingdom of God, right? You got to bring them in the kingdom of God. And really, you're just building up the church. But, we thought, okay, we're building up the kingdom of God and teaching people basically they're bad. And so, you're wanting to save them and teaching them they're bad, and they got this hole in their life and they got to get it filled because they're bad and they're not a whole person. And, because God needs you to perform a task into getting saved because you're bad. And then if you're not saved and, do the 1, 2, 3, the Romans road, then, God's going to throw you in the lake of fire and you're going to burn forever. And so then, that's really shame on people, always telling them they're bad, and that without this sacrifice, and then having to then, go through that process. And I'm not saying that the process is wrong, good, bad, indifferent. I'm not coming against God. I'm not coming against Jesus. I believe in Jesus. He taught us a lot on how to live and how to connect to the divine that's within us. And I just think the church just hopped on the bandwagon of fear and shame. And I don't want to be a part of that anymore. That's what I'm disengaging from. But why I'm sharing is because it is amazing to me how that mindset and teaching, when you are in that, how it just stays in your brain, especially from when you were a child being raised up in it and, thinking, oh, it was just innocent. And here I am singing, I'm in the Lord's army. You're in the Lord's army. Yes, sir. I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir. I've been, onward Christian soldiers is going on to war. And that intensity, especially as a little girl in Vacation Bible School, you're singing that. What it does to your body is just, it's crazy. And so doing that's Bill at Surfside. He's a great guy. And so building on that, it's just too much. It's too much. And so I don't know if you're finding that, but there's hope. And when you see that's playing out in your life and that you're living from that just because you're exhausted, you're tired, I'm thankful that out of this difficult time in my life, that's being made aware to me to where I can be like, that's not me anymore. I can choose to live in peace. I can choose to live in the connection with myself, with my heart, with God, and be within, in tune with the divine that's already in me, and be connected, especially to this beautiful beach that we have these waves because we have a lot of wind today. And so I just wanted to share that and, encourage anybody that's being overwhelmed and extended beyond what they feel that they can do is, I hear ya, right there with ya, walking in this journey, because so many of us want to have that quick fix. If I could just have that quick fix, if I could, just go get prayed for and have hands laid on me, and if I can have that, whatever it is our go-to, that we numb out. It's our quick fix, that whatever it is, we want that easy answer. It's just walking out and being present in every step. and to see the small things, to be connected with the divine nature, and breathe. Just to breathe and let it go. There's peace in that, there's beauty in that, and really being connected with others instead of just showing up in a Sunday service and being like, oh yeah, I love you, praying for you, and then we leave, and then we do life, and it gets heavy, and we go back for our quick fix. Live life. Be the best you can be. Have a great week. Bye.